design thinking, it really gives us consistent results, right? Like I think this methodology, it's not the only methodology. I think there's many different ways on how to get from point A to point Z. This one just happens to work for our team and has given us very predictable, consistent results. Now, working with designers too, how does this methodology kind of help frame creativity, right? Because designers are a little different breed, let's call it.
Sure, yeah.
They think differently, they're maybe a little more sensitive, their level of empathy is very high, but because of that, they're very sensitive. So how does this framework maybe help to get those really good results?
Yeah, I can play off of what Michael was saying, right? The design thinking process creates guardrails, basically.
Yeah.
And I like to use an analogy of a sandbox, right? We have to define the edges of the sandbox that our designers can play in. We don't want to define what happens within that sandbox. We just need to build it, give them a space, and then let them be creative and free. A part of that is the interaction with engineering. The other part is the design thinking process. That empathize and define step really helps us nail down what those boundaries are and what we're trying to do. Right. What is the goal and what are the restrictions and requirements, and then from there we can tackle it.
Yeah, before when we were having coffee, we were talking about innovation. Can we explain to the audience, like, how does design thinking promote innovation? Whereas I think there's a common misconception that design thinking is, oh, they're designing something to make it look pretty. That's design thinking. But really, you're saying something about innovation and different ideas. Can we maybe speak to that, how that methodology leads to that?
If I'm from the outside looking in, I think there's excitement from every stage, right? So empathize, that first stage, it's boring. When it comes to defining, that's when things start to get exciting. When you start seeing concepts, when you start seeing a framework, and then that sort of builds up into the ideate phase. So at that ideate phase, John, as you mentioned, the innovation, I think that really sparks a lot of ideas. We often look to other industries, other areas for ideas, for inspiration, and I think that's where a lot of the ideas come to the table. One of the current projects, we're looking at museum type of preservation, something that's almost like not closely related to the project we're working on, but that's just an example. Like, we're looking at other industries on ways where we can reuse, upcycle, or repurpose. So I think instead of reinventing the wheel, which oftentimes can be really expensive, we try to look at other proven examples.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I think doing all these 5 attributes in their subsequent order actually will lead to the results, like good results in that way, because like you said, you do have to set up a framework before you start ideating. Us as designers just start throwing out ideas without the framework, without empathy in place, then it's basically just going to lead us to be chasing our tails. And I think that's why the framework really works to harness creativity in the right direction. So I think that's why it's been pretty advantageous for us to adopt this process here at HDO.
Right. Yeah. If you started just from a design brief and just let people run loose, there's going to be a lot of wasted time.
So I think to sum it all up, it gives us efficiency, it gives us direction, it gives us opportunity for innovation.
Yeah, so overall good results.
Yeah, and I mean, it really just, it harnesses the power of idea and engineering working together.
Absolutely.
And then further downstream, prototype, build, stage, and testing, it ensures that we're able to de-risk before you start cutting tooling or you start committing to manufacturing.
Yeah, it saves on costly rework.
Yes. Especially for products or projects that have ergonomics involved. Since we work a lot on head ergonomics, it's very important for us to prototype and test numerous times. To learn.
Yeah, almost endlessly.
Yes.
And I think the great thing, just to tie back, because we're talking about how non-designers are utilizing design thinking, I do think it can be utilized at a high level. So I think that entrepreneurs, for instance, they can take this design framework and they can apply it to their businesses. They can look at shaping their businesses in this way, empathizing with their customers, defining the markets and the problems, ideating product ideas, and then doing the test. So at a high level, it actually works too. Yeah. So I just think it's really pretty advantageous.
Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely important to apply to any problem. And it is a framework to solve problems. And everyone is solving a problem, whether it's getting funding or getting more sales or whatever it might be. And defining that problem is part of the process as well. So,
You know, if you guys have any comments or questions, feel free to comment down below or reach out to us, info@hatchduo.com. Look forward to hearing from you and subscribe. Yes.